Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, 320 SimPilot, and today we're taking a look at another addition to the fly-by-wire mod. This time the ground services have been added into the iPad. Let's see how that works and what it means for us when we're using the simulator. As always, I am a real-world Airbus pilot, but none of this is for any real-world use. It's just to give you some extra context on your home simulations. We're here at Gatwick getting ready for a departure up towards Edinburgh. And as you can see, the airplane is pretty much left alone, almost as if it's just parked up. So, or maybe it's been left overnight. Aircraft will be left overnight, typically like this, sort of separated from things. What we're going to do is jump on board and get things powered up as we would need to. So we're on the flight deck now. The plane is, I've already turned it on using the external power, but if we turn on the iPad and we go to the grounds tab now, you can see these buttons have all come to life, which is really good news. Something else I've noticed is if you want this bit full screen, you can press Alt and enlarge it, and then the buttons still work up on this screen as well, which is pretty good. Anyway, here we go then. So ground tab, and as you can see, pretty self-explanatory. We can just click for fuel, and then if I go back outside, we should see a fuel truck appear. And here we go, the fuel truck has now arrived. It does take a little bit of time for it to appear, but as you can see, it automatically brought up the fuel box, and there it is. So if you do press fuel and nothing happens, don't panic, it is probably on the way. But yeah, there we go, and it just appears for you and connects even. Look at that, right up to the wing. I'm not sure if that's how it was already, but yeah, really nice to see that we can get this done in the EFB now. Something to point out is that, of course, most of these features in real life happen pretty much automatically. We don't spend a lot of our time chasing up fuel and tugs and jet bridges, but it is sometimes something we have to do. You'll have a frequency to talk to your company, and then they will contact you, or you can contact them and find out where is the fuel truck and so on, and they'll chase them up, because there's lots of different companies that will provide these ground services. It won't just be one. So talking to air traffic control won't be much good. They won't be interested in helping you out to get fuel or bags or anything like that. That'll be a separate company. So yeah, so it's nice to have the iPad control so we can we can keep a grip on things. Sadly, in real life, that's typically not how it works. Back on the flight deck now, and on our ground tab, what else can we see? Well, we can go to, obviously, the doors. We can open the doors, but more importantly, let's get the passengers. So we click packs, and you'll see that jet bridge spring to life and head over. It's always a nice feeling the way the jet bridge moves around on the Airbus. It's a proper sense of excitement and anticipation, I suppose, of the flight starting when you see that bridge head out the way. Now, the reason we got this ground attraction is this is a custom scenery for Gatwick. But there we go. Here it comes. That will connect up, which is a great feature to have included. I always liked having ground vehicles on any of the simulators I used. And if we jump outside, there we go. Our passengers can now board. Something you'll notice with this using the EFB is that they'll typically do their action and then they'll head off again. So let's do the others. Let's get the door aft and catering on board. Let's get the baggage on board. You can see external power is currently blue. I am sitting with the airplane on external power already. It does automatically do that cold and dark. If you press it again, it goes off. I don't think it's going to matter, but yeah. Let's get that APU on and then we can get rid of the external power. Master switch on, 3 seconds later, start. If you look outside, the external power, I think, loaded up by default with this airplane, but they're actually simulating it with this little truck with an external power unit on the back. I've not seen that before, not in Europe. Usually the external power units are sort of wheeled into place by a little tug or something like that and then left here. But actually the real external power unit is this thing, this yellow thing here. Now, as I said, I'm using the custom freeware Gatwick scenery, but this yellow line gets dragged out to the airplane and connected in underneath, and that's the ground power. So typically the airport will have a big airport will have an infrastructure. You can see one at each stand, which allows ground power to be connected to the airplanes without having to run one of these generators. These generators produce a lot of noise and heat and smoke, and they're usually diesel generators, I believe, so they're not very pleasant. The big problem with those is it means that if you open the windows on the flight deck, you get all the noise and fumes from the ground power unit, which isn't very nice. In summer, it's nice to be able to open the windows and have it quiet. So yeah, airports, the bigger airports, will have the power where you just plug it straight into the ground. Sometimes that will be attached to the jet bridge as well. That's the alternative. The wire will be connected to this, and then it will plug in underneath the airplane like that. There we go. Catering has now finished and removes on its own, as I said. So yeah, things don't hang around forever once you've told them to do the job, and they just get it done. If we go underneath the airplane, just to show you, it's not actually drawn on, but this is where we would plug in, or where the ground power gets plugged in. It goes into this little panel here, but it's not really simulated. Or is it this one? One of these. I think that might be avionics actually. So there's a little flap that opens up, and then the cable just gets plugged in underneath the cockpit down there. And then when the ground power want to remove it, they'll come out here and signal to one of the pilots, and they'll wave, and then you see them, and you can give them the hand signal to say they can remove the ground power. Often they'll actually tap on the side of the airplane, because you can hear that in the flight deck quite easily, whereas you might not necessarily see them outside. So you'll be sitting there and you'll hear this tap tap like someone knocking, but it'll just be them tapping the skin of the airplane, and then they'll move back, and then they'll signal to you what they want. Okay, so we've got the APU up and running. You can see the cabin door has stayed open, so leave the APU on, turn off the ground power, and you can see it says avail because it's plugged in but we're not using it. And so now the ground crew would tap, and then they would signal to you, and then we can click external power, and it is should go. Doesn't seem quite to work like that. I've seen sometimes it does and doesn't disappear with that little button, but there we go. It seems to bring the vehicle or not, but it doesn't seem to affect whether you actually have access to it in the cockpit at the moment. Oh, well, now it's very much in place. But there we go. Oh, there we go. Now we have the green light. So now the ground power is available from the vehicle. See, I'm learning all the time. So ground power is now available. And let's click on baggage again. Let's see if we can convince the baggage to open up and work. So now the bags are loaded. The ground crew will gradually close up again and get underway. Again, in real life, that should happen pretty much automatically. The ground crew will be working hard down there getting that done. There goes our little unit. Great to have all this sort of included. I mean, it's the fly-by-wire team have really done a lot of work to make all this work, I'm sure. But yeah, it's really nice to have this, you know, with a free mod in the base sim. It's great. Finally then, if we imagine that we are pretty much ready to go, I haven't quite set everything up, but yeah, let's get those flight directors on. And what I want to show you last is the pushback. So we can, of course, click cool tug. The tug instantly starts moving outside, which is great. It starts connecting. Bit of a ballet here. You can see the jet bridge automatically disconnected and moved out the way. And now we have this tug connected. These sorts of tugs are quite common these days. They can be driven sometimes by one person, whereas the old style needed two. Instead of having to attach a bar up to the nose wheel and then a tug which pushes the tow bar, which pushes the nose wheel, these ones wrap around the wheel and then they pick it up, and they've got all sorts of sensors in them and so on. And this tug driver can often spin around in their seat, so they're facing one way and then spin around and face the other way to drive it off again after they've disconnected. So it's quite a neat system. These more modern tugs, and they're more reliable, I think, just judging by the fact you don't have to connect a bar and push and pull and so on. It's just less moving parts connected to the airplane. But here we are then in our airplane ready to go. Those of you who've seen the lights tutorial will know what has to come next. We've got to get that beacon on so the ground crew know we're ready to start. Then we'd get obviously our clearance from air traffic control. Okay, so beacon is on. First we've got our idle, and a transponder will now go to auto so ground crew can see you are ready to go. We've got our clearance from air traffic, and let's just do our pushback. So the pushback's connected. We've got the green tug. Let us simply, well, what I'm going to do first actually, because we have a tug, we can disconnect that parking brake and we shouldn't roll anywhere. I'm not sure how Microsoft simulates that, but in real life you could disconnect when the ground crew clear you to disconnect that parking brake. So we've turned it off. So what that means is the tug has now got the weight of the airplane. So like I say, in real life, that is often done while you wait. You could do that now while we wait for an airplane to pass behind or something. You wouldn't normally do it until you are actually going to go, though. You wouldn't sit there with the brake off connected to the tug for a long period of time. And now simply, look, push back and away we go. Isn't that great? It's really nice to have this just built in. The downside is, of course, it's quite hard to steer an airplane from the cockpit and push it back because you can't see behind you. They're not really set up for it at all. So you can jump outside and get an idea. You get some picture. So if I click this arrow, you can see the nose wheels still go as well. That wouldn't happen in real life. This isn't connected to the nose wheel steering. It's electronic. But also the nose wheel steering is completely disconnected. We've got no control over the nose wheel on the flight deck whilst we're pushing back. But there you go. I can push it the other way as well, and you'll see that. Or we can simply go stop, and it will do this, where it sort of freewheels for a bit and then comes to a halt. So remember that there is a little bit of lag. But yeah, so let's go left like that. And round we go. If you're struggling to see where you're going though, I'll just stop it again. There we go. If you press the right Alt button, you get that plus. You click on the plus and it brings it up. So I think now, there you go. You could actually do it from the outside, but you've got to open this little extra window. So that's with the right Alt, and then you click on it, and then you can see this window. And now you can see I've gone too far, but maybe I'll go straight for a bit, and then maybe I'll stop there. And there you go. Now that is a terrible pushback, of course, but yeah, that's a way you might find useful to push back if you're not sure where you're going. So now we've stopped. Now we would definitely set the parking brake. The ground crew would tell you to do that. Before you set it, you look outside to make sure you're not moving still, because it can be hard to judge. And then I'll click Cool Tug, and I think they will just happily drive off outside. And there we go. So there you have it, whilst we start our engines out here on the apron. Just a little guide about some of the ground movements and a look at the work by the fly-by-wire team on their new external vehicle sort of options in the iPad. It's great to see. As ever, thank you to the fly-by-wire team for your hard work. It's just adding more and more fun and realism into this simulator. And yeah, there'll be plenty more videos to come. There's loads of updates to the fly-by-wire I need to show you, including the new upcoming auto thrust system, which is very exciting. All that's left to say for now then is thank you very much for watching. Do keep safe and well. Please subscribe to the channel if you like this sort of content, and plenty more live streams and videos coming soon, including guides on the Airbus. That's it then. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.